During trial questioning, attorneys will usually ask if you have seen a particular document or report or read a particular deposition, and then they will proceed to ask you questions about it. The suggestion by lawyers in court always seems to feel like if you have read a document in the months or years leading to the trial, then you should remember every paragraph, every page, and every sentence in the document. Somehow, you should be able to comment on anything and everything in that document. This apparent expectation is stressful to an expert witness, especially a new one. Jurors do not really expect you to remember every single document that you have ever read in the case, and you should not either. What often happens is that attorneys will quote out of context from the document and ask for your comment or opinion about it. An important tactic to prepare is that if you are asked a question about something in a document, after saying that you had in fact seen that document previously, you should ask at that moment to see the document again. Reading a quotation in context provides you an opportunity to comment appropriately on what it says and the context within which the quotation appears. When the attorney provides you with a copy of the document from which he is quoting, take your time, find the place in the document that's being referenced, then casually look at that context, particularly phrases and sentences right before and just after the quotation. If you did read the document originally, this quick scan of context may be enough for you to identify the contextual meaning of the quotation. You should quickly think through why this question is being asked, why the quotation was given to you out of context, and perhaps what the attorney is trying to do with this out of context quotation. If you can do that in the span of a few moments, then you will be quite successful at diffusing potential traps and at being an expert witness. If, however, you are presented with a lengthy document and need to read more of it to refresh your memory and answer the question, please say so. The attorney will have to decide then if he wishes to skip over his intended questions related to that document or wait for you to review the additional pages. There are significant benefits to rereading your own deposition. In preparing for trial, rereading your own deposition is an important step. As much as possible, the other attorney will try to trip you up in trial based on answers you specifically gave during your deposition. If you made mistakes, you will hear about it. If you were sloppy in your expressions, you will hear about it. Conflicting testimony between your deposition and your trial always represents a great opportunity for the opposing attorney to attempt to discredit you, and perhaps legitimately so. If you have done your homework and you did your expert investigation well, and nothing new has been introduced in evidence, then you probably will not have a different opinion at trial. Let's hope not. You shouldn't have any conflicts between the testimony you gave in deposition and the testimony you are currently giving in trial. Conflicts between current and previous testimony may be enough to warrant that the judge dismiss you and your testimony. Unless you carefully study your own deposition, you will not be as likely to remember exactly what you said. You will not be as likely to state things in the same way during trial as you expressed them during your deposition. You will not necessarily remember the context in which you answered earlier questions. Smart opposing attorneys may quote your own statements during a deposition to present a conflict with the new statements you may have just made during a trial. Now, if you have reread your own deposition, you will know the context of each such quotation and should be able to instantly point out any possible different context, thereby explaining any seeming discrepancy. Now, there's also a unique benefit to reading and rereading the other expert's deposition. You will find that other people who have been deposed will talk about the same technical areas as you, particularly your opposition expert witness. You should read what they say in their depositions because you may be testifying about statements they actually made. Obviously, you should alert your attorney to any errors or inconsistencies in what anybody else has to say. However, you should have already gone through the other expert's deposition carefully to have learned their opinions or recommendations even earlier during the preparations for your own deposition. During this final review and rereading of the other expert's deposition, you can discuss with your attorney the opinions of the other expert. You can reiterate and discuss the specific strengths and weaknesses of the other expert's opinions. In concert with your attorney, you also need to develop a joint awareness of trial strategy. Knowing what areas to concentrate on during trial to highlight your strengths and the other expert's weaknesses will help your attorney's presentation of the case. It will also help you when you are on the stand. The opposing attorney may ask you to validate or confirm any particularly strong opinion of the other expert. If you agree with it, that's fine. But if you perceive any flaw or weakness in the opinion of the other expert, you should incorporate that observation into your answer. If the other expert has an opinion in direct conflict with one of your opinions, refreshing your memory about what he said in his deposition will make it easier for you to compare your positions. A key tactic to remember here is that you can actually use Post-its when rereading depositions to mark certain pages, but only temporarily, because you can peel those Post-its off. You may want to discuss those particular pages with your retaining attorney before trial and then comment on them during the trial itself. Now, you probably will need to or want to consider revisiting relevant sites. In my business, most of my analyses are done with computers and information that I can spread out and review in my own office. However, a number of my cases do also involve investigations of the layout of the premises where the computers were located. Investigations may also involve how computer software and hardware were handled or managed or used at a particular site. Nearly all those sites are an airplane flight away from my office, so it is not always pragmatic or cost-effective to go back there just before trial. If your expert business evolves similarly, this fact should put you on high alert. It places even more importance on the notes, the observations, and the recordings, perhaps photographic or electronic, that you made during your first and possibly only site visit. If you feel that you must revisit the premises or site in question as part of your preparations for trial, you should make that clear and as early as possible to your attorney. Generally, this requires both planning and approval from various people. The sooner you make known such a need, the better will be the chances that you actually will obtain that site revisit. If you are representing a defendant or plaintiff who owns or manages the site in question, then it's usually very easy to gain re-access to refresh your memories. But if the other side controls access, they will not always grant you an additional visit to the site beyond the one that you no doubt already had. If enough time remains before trial, and if any new evidence has been introduced since your previous visit, it becomes much more likely that you will be reallowed new access to the site.